Hello YouTube, my name is Isabella and welcome back to my channel Stubbornly Bookish. Today I'm going to be doing my March wrap-up. Now I know a few weeks ago I posted a tag video and also explained why I took a break from BookTube, and then I unintentionally also just took another 2-week break from BookTube. But this wasn't as dramatic or melodramatic of a reason. I happened to go on vacation for a week and I was traveling on the days that I typically upload, which are Fridays, and I was trying so desperately to get a video up on time, but I literally didn't have the time for it, and BookTube was the thing that fell through the cracks, unfortunately. But I'm still here. I'm excited to be talking about books again. So here are my thoughts on the 6 books I read. I read some really good books this month. The first 2 books I read, I chose them specifically to get me out of my reading slump. I knew that they'd be fast and quick and easy, and they were The Elite and The One by Kira Cass. These are the second and third book in the Selection series, the first one being The Selection, which is a dystopian bachelor, very light on the dystopian sort of elements. It's just a fun, pretty silly, compulsively readable story, and that's the best way that I can put it. However, I do think that The Selection is the strongest of the 3. These 2 books, you could see how they're kind of dragged on. Found my enjoyment starting to wear off when I was getting towards the end of the third one, because it's just like, you know what the ending's gonna be. You know what's going to happen, so what's the point? With the third one, Kira Cass makes some decisions to kind of further the background plot, which is the dystopian elements and like the war that's coming. But in my opinion, it really looked like she was making these decisions just to make our couple stay apart and not actually because it was something that we were supposed to care about. This did not need to be a trilogy. I agree with everyone when they say that this book series should just have been 1 book. They did not need it to be 3, but I read them all, had a decent enough time with them. I haven't officially given them a rating, but I think I'm gonna settle somewhere along the 3 stars, maybe 3, and like 2.5 for this one. This one I do think is a little bit weaker. So this next book was the one that truly slowed down my reading, and that was Manhattan Beach by Jennifer Egan. When I was learning about this book's existence, hearing about its synopsis, I heard it was a sort of crime noir thriller set in the 20s, and it was a really cool, fun, like cross-genre thing. I don't know how someone could think that. I don't know how that is the synopsis, because this is just a plain old boring historical fiction set, did I say 20s before? I meant the 40s. This is a World War II story. I did not like this book very much. This book is hard to describe succinctly, and that's probably my biggest problem with it, is that it has so many elements of different genres, but it doesn't have anything cohesive about it. It's historical fiction. It does have a little tinge of the crime that I wanted. It's also somewhat of a feminist uplifting, or attempts to be a feminist uplifting story and a mystery, but there's so much to wade through that you never get anything truly cohesive. I've not felt cheated by a novel in a very long time, because with the first third of it, I was really hooked, intrigued, and really enjoying it. It kept its cards close to its chest. You get to kind of attempt to piece together what happened and why everything is, but then halfway through the novel it just gives everything away, and you know everything, but the character doesn't, and that's one of the most frustrating things, I personally think, to read for a long period of time when you know something that the character doesn't. It's really frustrating, annoying, boring. I think I would take a lot of convincing to read another one of her books right now, because I'm quite irritated with this one, and I ended up giving it 2 out of 5 stars. The next book I completed was my favorite book this year. I loved it to pieces, and it was The 5th Season by N.K. Jemisin. I'm a little disappointed that I didn't get to film a video. I was gonna do the predicting 5-star reads off my TBR. I just didn't have the time to film it, and I knew that I was gonna love this book, and I did. It's a 5-star read. I thought this book was utterly phenomenal. This book is set in a world in which it is ending. This world experiences disaster after disaster after disaster. However, this one that we experience at the very beginning of the novel, that's it. It's over. The world is ending. And it's just a story basically of survival and characters just picking up the pieces of their broken lives and attempting to survive as long as they can. This book was wholly original and just fantastically put together. You want to talk a book that is cohesive and each part has a specific reason for being the way it is, and you get this book. I totally understand why the 5th season won the Hugo Award. It is so deserving. This book broadened my wildest expectations of what fantasy could be. I do think that it was a little bit difficult to get into because there are 3 perspectives in this novel, and one of them is actually told in second person, and that's not something I don't think I've ever read before, and it was really hard at first to get used to it, but then once my brain started catching up with it, I was totally on board. I thought it was super interesting as a narrative choice. This book is crazy diverse. Basically the entire cast is all women of color, and there is a polyamorous couple that is in here, and I think it was so interesting, and frankly I'm totally on board to read so many more because the dynamic between the 3 was great. I thought it was so interesting and so different and refreshing from the norm. And it even addresses topics such as colonialism in a fantasy world, and I thought that was so cool and great, and oh my god, I fully plan to do a spoilery, gosh, my god, my mind has been blown. I've already ordered the next one. I cannot wait to read more. I also read The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. This is an adult contemporary romance, which I found to be surprisingly good. This book in particular features a hate-to-love romance set in a publishing house, and what more could you ask for when it comes to a romance? I found myself really caring about these characters. I liked their dynamic and the shift that occurs and how they took the time to truly get to know one another. It was really easy, sexy, fun, and not problematic, which frankly I just think it deserves all the friggin' praise because it doesn't feature a toxic relationship that is romanticized. I will say that there is one word that is used in here that I absolutely abhor. It is a derogatory term for people with disabilities, and I fucking hate it. And it's used to say that he has issues with social cues. And I hated the use of that, even though it wasn't directed at another person. I personally can't forgive that word being used, so I did give it 4 stars. Everything else was really fun and great. That I didn't like, but if you're looking for a non-problematic, fun romance, I highly recommend this one. And the last book I finished in March, technically April 1st, but I'm counting it anyway because I wanted to finish it before my vacation, but I just didn't have the time, and that was Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. I had 100 pages left before leaving on my trip, and it killed me every single day that I couldn't finish it because I wanted to know what happened so bad. I would say Children of Blood and Bone is probably the most anticipated YA release of the entire year. Children of Blood and Bone is a West African inspired fantasy that is pitched as Avatar meets Black Panther. And I haven't personally seen Avatar, although it's a show that I've been wanting to watch for so long. I really love this book. I do think that the hype surrounding it, because I was reading it just as everyone was giving it 5 stars, marred my enjoyment just a teeny little smidge. I thought the atmosphere was one of the strongest points of this novel. It was incredibly lush and vivid, and I personally struggle a little bit when it comes to picturing fantasy worlds, but I could feel this book. I could see it so very vividly, and for that alone, I think hats off to Miss Tomi. I loved all the characters that are introduced. We get about 4 main characters with their perspectives. They each come from varying backgrounds, and because of those backgrounds, they have unique perspectives brought to the story, and I really liked seeing everyone's perspectives and how they vary and how they're similar. The biggest bone I had to pick is that I did not love a specific romance that develops. I thought it was too quick and really total 180, and I understand why that choice was made, but I still wasn't entirely on board with it. Other than that, though, I think this book was utterly fantastic. I could keep rambling on and on about this story. I do definitely plan on doing a full review for this one as well, because I have so many thoughts and opinions that I would like to discuss with the booktube community, so be on the lookout for that. I gave Children of Blood and Bone 4.5 out of 5 stars. It was so very great. I cannot wait to see where the rest of the trilogy goes. So those were the 6 books I read in March. I felt like I read more, but I have like 3 books on the go, and that's probably why. I would like to know your favorite book that you read this month. I finally have some good books that I've read, and I'm so excited to say that, because boy, have I had a rough reading quarter. Thank you so much for watching. I plan on posting a lot of videos this month, so stay tuned, and I will see you again very soon. Bye!